Boker Tov. Let me begin by thanking the conference committee for the kind invitation to join you, and equally, if not more importantly, for their understanding and actually giving us the invitation to do this video. As I'm sure they are, I hope the committee has explained, I've had to stay back here in Philadelphia area because of the death of a very close friend, and the funeral is Sunday afternoon. So again, I appreciate their understanding, and those of you who will be watching this, bear with me. We're trying this video, and a big shout out to the producer of our podcasts, Steve Lubetkin, who's making this all possible at his studio. The title of this talk, Healing and Spiritual Care, Training Jewish Physicians. So obviously, let me begin with a text. The text from Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, from a speech probably many of you have read, given in 1964 before the convention of the American Medical Association. And in that really prophetic talk, Rabbi Heschel said the following, quote, "The doctor is God's partner in the struggle between life and death. Religion is medicine in the form of a prayer. Medicine is prayer in the form of a deed," unquote. We have observed and acknowledged the linkage between Judaism and medicine, that it is long and powerful, and it is a linkage or partnership which I believe embraces a holistic mind, body, soul connection. What is the concern of these few moments is how this dyad of medicine and spirituality is being incorporated into medical training. The fact is that we are seeing an uptick in medical training within that deals with aspects and issues of spirituality. For example, a recent lecture to a fourth-year group of medical students by a rabbi was entitled, "Who Can I Turn To? A Look at the Spiritual Aspect of Care from Both Sides of the Bed." One of the interesting things that emerged in the research of this, and I talked to a whole bunch of physicians in various parts of the country, was their comment to me that there seems to be, in their experience, in their schools, a drop-off on the number of Jewish men and women who are actually applying to medical school. And I would hope that perhaps this had been addressed during the course of this conference, because more than one or two or three of these doctors who are teaching in medical schools have made that comment. Another text that I wanted to bring to your attention is from a column in a blog called Reflective Med Ed. That's the name of the blog, from just this last month in February. It was by a second-year medical student at Drexel University College of Medicine in Philly. The blog post was entitled 1056, The Minute a Patient's Life Ends and a Medical Student's Life Changes. The student concluded through her thought piece by writing the following, quote, "As I process the passing of this man's life, I realized the importance of building an emotional attachment to patients and allowing myself to address my emotions no matter the duration of a patient's interaction of my role in medical care. And I will carry this lesson forward in my medical education as I inevitably am forced to cope with countless tragedies," unquote. Perhaps one of the most pioneering of curricula developed for medical school is something called the Healer's Art, which I'm sure many of you know. It's created by Dr. Rachel Naomi Remen. This course, quotes, "leads students into dialogue about what, beyond science and technology, they as physicians will be able to offer patients," unquote. In an article in a journal called Minnesota Medicine from a few years ago, a Dr. Jennifer Pearson wrote, quote, "Medical schools do a paramount job of teaching science, but practical medicine involves much more than tending to the physical body," unquote. Dr. Don Friedman teaches medical students at the Kimmel School of Medicine at Jefferson University in Philadelphia. Don has dedicated his post-practice life to this stage of raising awareness among medical students at Jeff to the spiritual aspect of what they do as they interact with patients. Often using the student's own feelings and spiritual background as a starting point, Several years ago, Dr. Friedman wrote a series of articles on spirituality, healthcare, and the role of physician for our website, jewishsacredaging.com. He wrote of the need to be able to listen to the patient and to understand that the patient's physical, emotional, and spiritual sides are all related and can affect each other and the course of the disease. Treatment of the whole patient with attention to the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs frequently results in a better outcome, even if the disease cannot be cured, unquote. Now, Dr. Friedman teaches this holistic model to students with the idea and goal to allow medical students to explore their own feelings on meaning, mortality, and being. As he has written, the physician, aware and accepting of his or her own wounded life experiences and insights, has to start the process off by showing the patient the understanding that is so supportive. Medicine thus becomes more than giving pills and doing procedures, unquote. Now, some of the comments from the medical students at Jefferson who have taken the Remnant program are interesting and illustrative of the transformative nature of the class. To the question that was raised, what is the most valuable thing you learn from the healer's art about yourself? We have the following. 1, that I can be vulnerable and open to share with my patients and learn from them as well. 2, that my experiences with grief, however hard they were to go through, connect me to other people. There are universal themes in grief and loss, and experiences with grief and loss can connect and bring people together. And finally, I will always remember that they are people, not just patients. I will always ask about their lives outside why I am seeing them. Now, one of the outgrowths of these discussions was the creation at Jefferson of monthly grief rounds. These rounds were created for residents rotating through the medical intensive care unit, and they were regularly exposed to patients who were dying. These rounds are a monthly forum which discuss issues surrounding the death of these people, these residents who these residents have cared for. The rounds were created, quote, as a means to help residents process death and dying and avoid burnout. A description of these rounds in an article in a 2016 American Journal of Medical Quality noted that the residents were surveyed on the impact of these rounds, and the article's authors reported that, quote, 77% of respondents agreed or strongly agreed that grief rounds improved their ICU experience and felt that grief rounds should be incorporated into all ICU rotations, unquote. Recently, the Association of American Medical Colleges posted a blog on making space for spirituality that noted that, quote, acknowledging students' faith practices helps tend to their psychological needs and prevent burnout, as well as promoting greater cultural awareness. More universities and hospitals are focusing on the concept of wellness, allowing students to express themselves whether in meditation or prayer, unquote. Now, in looking at preparation for this presentation, I decided also to reach out to a friend who's involved in nursing education. I just wanted to ask her if in nursing education there was also a similar movement to examine nursing students and their spiritual reservoir. I was referred to a book called Spirituality in Nursing Care, where the editor, in her preface, wrote that her experiences transformed her interest in spirituality and nursing into a passion, and that this passion has developed a strong sense of the need to advocate for spirituality in the large context of nursing practice. Robin, the nurse who I reached out to, then posted on Twitter, believe it or not, the following question. In nursing education, is there now any attempt to input the spiritual aspect of patient care? Now, believe it or not, and she sent me the responses that she got after, say, about a week of this. and it encompassed a wide variety of, of responses. Just a few. For one nurse who wrote, "Why do you think it should be incorporated? Those of you who think it should. I'm asking generally to hear what you think it adds. I've been an RN since 1988, and I'm an atheist since I was a child. I'm a very caring nurse without being spiritual or religious." And another nurse wrote, "I find little or no spiritual education, mostly because of time constraints. The literature shows," she writes, "that incorporating spiritual education in the curriculum improves nurses' ability to provide holistic nursing care." And finally another comment, again moving the pendulum, quote, "It has become quite evident to me of late, spiritual care is the basis of health. When spirit is out of alignment, there goes hope for positive outcomes. Patients would be best served if this is a more intentional part of nursing education," unquote. Now, there have also been attempts to provide opportunities for physicians to discuss spiritual issues once out of school. I know of two congregations, a local one in Phoenix, Temple High, and one in Long Island who's scheduled something for this month, who have planned or are planning retreats just for physicians who are members of their congregations. And our own Jewish Sacred Aging program has run workshops in congregations for doctors on Judaism and medicine, which look at texts and the holistic approach to medicine. And likewise, sessions for therapists on the approach to mental health drawn from the text of Jewish tradition. Parenthetically, the mental health component of this is something, again, that needs to be further discussed. Now, several years ago, the Kalsman Center for Judaism and Health created the ASAF project, and two of the people who sometimes come to these conferences, Dr. Howie Silverman of Scottsdale and Dr. Bill Cutter, were very instrumental in creating this through Kalsman. This program, designed for clinicians, hoped to deepen connections with Judaism and help clinicians, quote, "infuse Judaism, spirituality, and self-awareness into their professional and personal lives, as well as to promote wellness and meaning, which would hopefully look at burnout and compassion fatigue," unquote. Now, as this wave of interest in spirituality and medical education was starting to develop, there also emerged institutes that focus on this issue. Look, for example, at the creation by Dr. Harold Koenig in 1988 of the Duke University Center for Spirituality, Theology, and Health. This is a research-based institute, quote, "that seeks to support and encourage dialogue between researchers, clinicians, theologians, clergy, and others," unquote. The center publishes Crossroads, a monthly summary of research into the intersection of medicine and spirituality, as well as holding an annual spirituality and health research workshop. This year is scheduled for August 10th to the 14th. Now, another major program, which I'm sure is known to many of you, is GWISH, the George Washington Institute for Spirituality and Health, founded in 2001 by Dr. Christina Pilchowski. The mission of the Institute is to change the face of healthcare, quote, "through innovative programs for physicians and other members of the multidisciplinary healthcare team, including clergy and chaplains," unquote. GWISH includes the Global Network for Spirituality, and a Spirituality and Health online resource center, annual training programs, a Spirituality and Medicine medical student interest group, as well as an annual healthcare renewal retreat, which is scheduled to be held this year from July 23rd through 29th in Assisi, Italy. Now, one of the more interesting and practical developments from GWISH is the FICA, F-I-C-A spiritual tool. This tool was developed to help physicians and other healthcare professionals address spiritual issues with their patients. The FICA tool serves as a guide for conversations in the clinical setting. And the acronym FICA stands for the following: F stands for faith and belief. The question is, do you consider yourself spiritual or religious, or is spirituality something important to you? I stands for importance. What importance is spirituality in your life? Has spirituality influenced how you take care of yourself, your health? And does your spirituality influence you in your healthcare decision making? The C stands for community. The question there is, are you part of a spiritual community? And what is the impact of that community? And the A in FICA will then stand for address and care. The question being, how would you, like me, your healthcare provider, to address these issues within your healthcare? And GWISH also makes available a small 2x4 card for pockets that can be used when taking these spiritual assessments, and also can be used, as GWISH mentions, as a tool for our own spiritual assessment. So, Acharon. Rabbi Heschel, for his words were and continue to be prophetic. Quote from the same speech, medicine is more than a profession. Medicine has a soul, and its calling involves not only the application of knowledge and the exercise of skill, but also facing a human situation. It is not an occupation for those whom career is more precious than humanity, or for those who value comfort and serenity above service to others. The doctor's mission is prophetic. It is a grievous mistake to keep a wall of separation between medicine and religion. There is a division of labor, but a unity of spirit. The act of healing is the highest form of imitatio Dei. To minister to the sick is to minister to God. Religion is not the assistant of medicine, but the secret of one's passion for medicine, unquote. Kain Yehi Ratzon. Toda Rabba.